internet. The internet. Okay, let's do this. We've got a lot of folks here today, so I hope you all brought questions, concerns, feedback, etc. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves before we get started. Kara, why don't we start with you?
All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Kara, product manager for Sansar.
Hi, I'm Nix. I'm a project manager for Sansar, she, her.
I'm Zayas, product manager.
Stanley, go ahead.
Stanley, product director.
Galileo, community manager, he, him.
Harley, Sansar support team lead, they, them.
Bina, UI UX developer, she, her.
Is that all of us? Okay. Macheka. All right, there's not. Let's see who that is. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Just as a reminder, today is going to be a general feedback session, so all the questions should be in chat. Again, we'll hit them as we get to them in order. If there is a topic at play which needs to be followed up on quickly for some reason or some clarification made, we can use voice. We'll make sure everybody's aware of that. And yeah, I think that's what we've got. I don't know any other big events that we have coming up that we need to talk about. Just as sort of a general reminder before we hop into everything, one of the things that we found is that having events keeps new users in. So the more you all can host events, the better. And I've seen some really wonderful events happening. Zero Cheese, thank you for hosting those community campfires. I see people having a great time. Sometimes I watch those creepily on stream, even though I'm not there. So the more of those, the better. I understand that some people have problems with events, which we can cover today. And so we also are thinking about ways on our side to incentivize that kind of thing, so you have reasons to do so, just so you know. But that is something I'd like to call out there. Also, other big things that we have going on, just so you don't forget, there is a Trek or Treat Alien Creation Contest Challenge going on. I'll drop the link in chat to what that is. Basically, you're creating an alien that would be fit for the Star Trek universe. It's going to be seen by Rod Roddenberry, who's Gene Roddenberry's son, and then he'll be wearing that avatar, his favorite avatar, during Roddenberry events that happen for the rest of the year. So that's pretty cool. And what else do we have going on? Halloween stuff. I'll be putting up all those things that you sent me today in the Halloween collection. Thank you for sending all that wonderful stuff. You guys have been killing it. One of the things that I'll be asking later on is sort of my question to you. As a community is about what things excite you. I think I asked you this last time, but nobody answered, so I'll keep bringing it up because this helps us help you. What things excite you about making stuff? Is it, monetary incentives? Is it being featured? That kind of thing. I want you to think about that as the product meetup goes on, so we can cover it a little bit later. So that way, when we issue these challenges or whatever, we want you to be having fun, and we also want you to get something out of it. So that's my spiel. Let's go ahead and get to these questions. First question, Granddad Got Mojo. Question, I have always had an echo problem in voice, and I notice more and more people have the problem too when they don't close their mics. It's very off-putting, especially to new people. Any suggestions? Does anybody know what software they are using for the voice server? I've tried a couple of different mics and headphones.
Next, you probably know the most about this one, unless I'm...
What do you think, Nix?
Yeah, probably. I believe we're using our own voice solution for this. As far as any suggestions, we do have a hotkey for being able to quickly toggle your mic on or off. I believe that key is M last time I checked. Other than that, making sure that if you use a headset, that often helps a lot with feedback when you're using, for example, laptop speakers and a built-in laptop mic. You're going to be much more susceptible to that kind of thing. But also happy to open up to the community if anyone else has any other specific tips and tricks to help minimize feedback and echo.
I've also noticed that if you're kind of deaf like I am, and you blast your headset speakers loud enough that your mic will still pick it up, and that will be the cause of an echo occasionally. Might just be me.
All right. Next, we have Bagnaria. Question, how about fixing the events counting against traffic? as it used to be. Bagneri, do you want to clarify, or do we understand the question up here?
I think we understand the question. Bowden's not here to talk about that, but I know that that's one of the concerns is making sure that event traffic is appropriately calculated. We don't have any update on that though.
Okay. Bowden will be back next week, I think, so keep those questions around. Or, again, you can ask him in Discord. Okay, Marcus Williams, when are we going to be able to have multiple people in scene edit mode?
That's a really good question. But we don't have a good answer for it right now. We're not immediately prioritizing collaboratory building at the same time. So yeah, can't speak to that.
All right, so here is this next question. Lots to unpack here. Okay. All right, here I'm just going to read the whole thing. Question. I've been around in Sansar for a while now. I'm posting this with an alt in fear of retaliation. It feels somehow the good features are not coming anymore, and I'm posting what many of us think. We were promised stuff like collaborative building, car scripts, flying were allowed, proper gaming mechanics in VR and desktop, better in-game world control to easily kick and ban people, full finger trapping on Valve Index controls. Are you guys afraid of people flipping each other off? People are waiting on full Valve Index support. Meanwhile, these customers' plays are still being neglected. It feels like Sansar only has 3 to 5 developers actually working on new stuff. You guys pump out new rooms and worlds for your corporate partners, but it feels like the actual work is being dropped. There is a general sense of discouragement going through the community because favoritism, political views, rule bending, in my opinion. I really want Sansar to succeed. How can you calm my fears that this platform is going to slow development-wise?
I can start off. I don't think I can answer everything here. So I don't. Maybe there's. I don't know if there's logs of this, but I don't know how much we said we would promise to get to stuff. Like, there's a lot of things that we agree with the user sentiment on that. Yeah, we would love to have collaborative building in vehicles. It's a matter of priority around when we want to get to them. But we're very careful not to say we're promising to do certain things. But like you guys, we want Sansar to succeed, and we share a lot of the same ideas that you have around, yeah, we'd love to get to certain things. And we want to build towards those things, or allow for those things to happen at some point in the future. So yeah, we mentioned collaborative building. Vehicles, we're talking about that internally. It's on some lists, but again, there are other things ahead of it. Proper gaming mechanics. We just had a hackathon this week, and that was one of the projects that was worked on, and Alex can talk more about that in a minute. In-game world control to easily kick and ban people. This, I don't know if I have an update on this. We are talking about this as well. I think there's some nuance about how we would like to do this, because we do have some basic controls in right now. Full finger tracking on Valve Index controllers. I know we've mentioned we're working on Index, that there's trouble with getting the headset working correctly, given that it's made a little differently from the other ones. But I don't know if we promised full finger tracking on that. I just don't know the latest status of that. As for the corporate partner stuff, we do pump out content for them, but that's a different team than the development team. We have an engineering team that works on feature development, and then we have a studios team that works on content, and those are different resources. So I don't want you guys to get the impression that just because we're putting out new rooms for partners, that is somehow taking away from feature development. Anybody else want to chime in on what I said?
Sure. We actually still have a lot of things going on. Our priority may not have been exactly on that list, but there are a lot of things that we want to be turning out. We have a good-sized development team that's constantly working on new features. Some of them are a little less visible to this crowd because we're really trying to focus in and optimize on first-time user experience, so that when people get sent to Sansar, that they have a good time, that they can find the content that everyone here is creating. But a lot of the features also are on number of improvements. I believe next week we're probably going to have a meeting going over all the features that are going to be coming in the next release. We just want to make sure that we get that list tightened up before going in detail about that topic. But there is a lot that's upcoming that we're pretty excited for.
All right. Anybody else?
I can answer the bit on the index part. It actually technically works, sort of, which is probably an oxymoron. But it's not so much the headset that isn't working as just the finger tracking. We haven't spent the time to actually get working properly. And that's, again, a matter of priority and the number of people that actually have that thing available to them right now versus working on features that touch a lot more users.
Thanks for that clarification.
Okay.
Do we want to mention? The shooting changes?
Yeah, it's worth mentioning. So we've got some new tech that'll be coming out in the next release, where when you're holding a gun or something akin to that, you're actually animating with IK to wherever you're aiming to. So if, like, I'm aiming at the Halloween sign behind me with a gun, you'll actually see my arm point towards it. And then if I aim over onto the left wall, you'll actually see my arm move over wherever I'm aiming to. So no more shooting yourself in the foot. I couldn't quite hear you there, sorry.
Yes, it's
Same
desktop.
Desktop
Yes.
is what we were talking about.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Next.
Are we getting that?
Next release.
Next release. Nice. Okay, next question. Doc Z, general question. What would you say is the defining aspect of Sansar that separates it from other VR platforms like VRChat?
The ability to quickly build a scene and jump into it in VR and see how it looks.
Just personal opinion, I think Sansar definitely looks better. Our higher quality render, the ability to adjust Marvelous Designer garments is definitely unique to Sansar, and the licensing resale system where you can get money if someone uses some of your content in a product that they build is certainly unique to Sansar as well.
I have an opinion as well. I think we have a much better community, and I've heard a lot of people say that.
Agreed.
Okay, that's great to hear. Zero Cheese, question statement. We really, really need manual individual voice audio volume controls to turn other people up and down as needed. 3 exclamation points. Zero Cheese is serious here.
I think I already gave you cheats for that one, but nice try.
We just discussed this the other day, and how Zero Cheese had asked for it and was going to ask for it again today.
Yeah.
I'm behind the initiative. I think it's been noted.
I'm also behind the initiative. Got a lot of support. Here's Zero Cheese. Well, thank you for living up to your word and asking.
Yeah.
I appreciate this. I sort of appreciate the persistence there. Speaking of persistence, just kidding. Medhu, or Doc Z asks, well, I think it's just why make a new game like Sansar instead of bringing VR to Second Life?
We could have a whole 2-hour discussion about just that topic.
Can you boil it down to 2 sentences?
I can try.
It wouldn't work.
There it is. 3 words. 3 words in a conjunction, so that's great. Okay, it would work. There it is. Thank you for the suggestion. Medhu asks, why when corporate partners need something, they get it? The user and creators, though, have been waiting nearly a year to fix the issues with the events that was created by corporate... sorry, Matthew, I'm trying to read this right. When corporate partners need something, they get it? The user and creators have been waiting nearly a year to fix the issues with events. The events issues were created by the corporate partners' needs. There we go.
As I was saying before, I'm hearing an echo from somebody. As I was saying before, the resources are not the same. Typically, when we have a corporate partner, the work that we're doing for them is content-driven. Like we're creating a space for them. We're we're doing the modeling and the creating the assets for them. And that's typically not what people are asking for here. They're not asking for, can you create a room with this kind of stuff in it? And that's the vast majority of what we're doing for partners. There is a little bit of feature work that comes from those requests as well, but then those, like user requests and like other things that we want to do, all get prioritized against each other. So I don't think that, I wouldn't agree that when they need something they get it and users don't, because they're asking for very different things, and the goals are very different when we're working with partners as well.
Okay. So I think that's the answer to that. Nikki, when a blocked person's chat still shows in local, it can be disturbing. Are there plans to stop this from happening?
So this is a question for Bowden, but I've had some discussions with him in the past few weeks about this. As we discussed, this is by design currently, but we recognize it was a choice that was made. We are debating whether we want to change that. The whole reasoning being, some conversations may not make sense if you are missing people who are talking in chat, whereas block was mainly mentioned as a visual or presence safety mechanism. Obviously, that's not that doesn't address all the use cases of if someone is creating disruptive text language in chat. We're talking about if we want to expand that to the chat or not. But that, just know that it's not a bug. It was the way it was designed, but we are open to changing that.
Wild and Free asks, question, I see people coming into the Nexus, standing and leaving, saying there's nothing here to do. When will you make it easier to get the worlds again? They seem to think the Nexus is all that there is.
Well, we've tried to do quite a bit in the last month, actually, to change the new user flow such that it actually navigates you to the Prime portal in such a way that you'll learn what it does. I don't know how many of you here have actually been through that new flow, because you're probably mostly existing people who went through that flow before it got changed. So that's one thing we're actually trying to do to help explain and teach how to use the Prime portal to search for and find new places. As well as adding a ton of signage and glowing lights as much as we can to draw attention.
Okay. Zero Cheese asks, can we have the ability to press F4 in free cam while on a sit point if it's allowed in the world? I can do it if I use a sit emote, but not on a sit point. That would be really useful in the near future when we get movable sit points to take videos of us moving on a track or something.
I already gave you cheese for that.
Do we have an answer for folks that didn't hear it last time?
Yeah. It's on the list.
Gotcha. Okay. Silas asks, oh boy, what about Space Navigator support on high heels? I'm not sure what that means. So it might be a joke.
No high heels on the roadmap currently, but it's something you want to support later.
It's a joke. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
If you can navigate a space on high heels, all the power to you. That's some skill. Zero Cheese. When will the movable bones go live for custom avatars to have like shorter arms?
That's currently not on the roadmap either. Definitely tackling movable bones for custom avatars is going to be a little bit more trickier. Currently our focus would be on, in terms of movable bones, will be for pre-morph skeletons and for the default avatar.
Okay. Disney Huntress asks, perhaps... this is related to the blocking and chat question. Perhaps there's a way to decide if we want to see block chat or not. Switch in the settings, maybe.
Yeah, thanks for that feedback.
Okay, so it's like a feature suggestion there. Zero Cheese asks, question, is there an ETA for when local persistence will go live?
No ETA at the moment, but I can tell you it is actively being worked on.
Okay. That looks like all the questions that we have so far, so right now is a good chance to ask more questions.
Kara, do we have a ETA on the pre-morphed skeletons? I think that's what
Yeah.
is being asked.
Yeah. We're shooting for the upcoming release. I think there are a couple of kinks, bugs that we're handling. If it all goes well, it should be coming up in the next major release, which is going to be in a few weeks' time.
November.
So soon.
Yeah.
Soon, and we'll talk more about the what's coming up in the next major release next week, the next product meetup.
Super exciting. Okay.
Should we mention the I know it's been a popular product meetup ask for the custom spawn points in world. Should we mention any work around that?
Yeah, I think that any of the things that we worked on during the hackathon that are like sort of imminent within the year, I think we should talk about that. So if you happen to know those dates, obviously be careful. We don't want to talk about something that is not quite done yet and won't be ready for
So,
well,
well, I'll mention that one because I know it's actively being worked on. It's been asked if you can set specific spawn points rather than constantly defaulting to the original spawn point. So I know Stretch is working on that right now.
And those can be scriptable in quests. So you can spawn someone to a specific location.
And you can specify it in the URI too.
that's pretty cool. What else can we talk about?
Kara, do you want to mention store stuff? Or?
Oh yeah, good one. Yeah, so during the hackathon, actually here, Bina here, and Zorba worked on a couple of new updates with the store. So I think we're shipping that too in the next major release. Bina, you want to actually go through the things that we have coming?
Yeah, so we pretty much made it in parallel and actually a little better than the web in terms of filtering. So now you can filter with clothing items for male and female, but you can also filter within a search result through categories and then male and female. We made it so that it's no longer a fixed position and you can move it around, you can stretch it to make it larger. We've made the ability to copy links to product descriptions that you can share in chat or elsewhere in world. Also made links. This is something that's being tested right now, so I'm not sure if I should promise it or not, but putting links and descriptions to in-client worlds, to other products, or to user stores. We've now given user stores a proper place, so if you have a store, you'll now be able to browse your store in client.
Right, and I believe you can share the link too, right, Bina, in chat, and that will open your store up when in the store app.
Yep. And Zorba added a neat little script that will be in simple scripts where you can have an interaction open up your user store. I think that's everything.
Okay, cool. We got a couple more questions that came in. Granddad Got Mojo asks, let's see. Have you oh God, where did it go? Have you thought about opening up VR controller to object interaction available to the API, changing pointer color, thickness, length for pointing and changing skeleton and animation for the grab? Basically, give us more access to OpenVR.
No, we haven't really thought about that.
But thanks for putting it in our minds, Granddad. You incepted us. That's how that works. Medhu question. Does the lab foresee any scenario or result that would make the lab reconsider giving us access to the whole grid again from anywhere, like most virtual worlds?
I think it's always on the table.
Yeah, like we hear a lot of the user feedback, and we're again, I know we've mentioned it before, but yeah, we're still talking about it, and nothing's like we want to understand your feedback and learn from what we're seeing. So yeah, it's certainly possible.
Okay, so, all right. So Nikki asks, statement more than a question. Classes on general building would be something newer world creators would get knowledge from. For example, lighting, quest creation, many options available, of course.
You might be excited to see something Bina might be publishing soon.
Yeah, Bina, do you want to talk about it? A little teaser.
I'm sorry, I was typing. What was the question?
Oh, they were asking for some advice on questing and things like that, and I said they might be excited about something you should be releasing rather soon.
Yeah, you should actually. Anyone interested in that? Tomorrow's scripting office hours is focusing on questing, but mostly best practices and going over like a flow chart of how the questing system is used, and maybe teasing a little bit about what should be coming. So that's tomorrow at 10 a.m.
There is also I'm gonna resurface this thing that we created where you can user-created guides. Something that we have on the forum. Anytime you do something, I think if the community wants to help each other, if you document what you've done and put it on the user-created guides page, the link I'm putting in chat right now, there's a lot that you can learn from your fellow users. I also think that if we start doing something, I might see if I can't convince some of the folks creating things to document what they're doing. So that's something I can start to put in to my to-do list. But there's a lot of stuff on these user-created guides. People work hard on them. The more stuff that's there, the more helpful it'll be. So that should be a great resource for everybody, and I would love to see more added to it. If the guides that we have on the forum that we create are not enough for you. Yes, in live format, YouTube events. Okay, so Nick, you're looking for YouTube videos or events in the world. So you're more of somebody who learns from seeing rather than reading. Sure. So yeah, if folks make videos and stuff, let me know. I will promote them. Whatever incentive you all want, let me know, because I think the more opportunities people have to learn how to build, the more cool stuff that can be created, the more people that'll stay. Yada yada. You can see how it affects the ecosystem. So. Yeah, let me know. If you make something, I'll promote it. I'll send it to people. I'll make sure everybody knows about it. Just let me know what you want me to do with it. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that you're getting all you need out of it. Okay. Next question. Mark, will there be flying?
I answered kind of not now, but it comes with a little bit more of a nuanced answer, which is two things. A, we have a few scripts capabilities coming. Some are actually already out, which will allow you to control certain avatar abilities like run speed, gravity per user. I think jump strength is another one we're working on, but it isn't out yet. So on a per user basis, you'll effectively be able to give like superpowers or the opposite. So that's a way that you'll be able to sort of get into that realm of flying, not necessarily flying Superman mode like you might be used to from something like Second Life. So yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Oh, somebody
No
saying
worries.
something?
He said thank you. That's all.
I'm free camped to the back of the room, so if somebody's speaking up there, can't hear him. Love Anime asks, ETA on the arm on the arm crotch and nose filter from Dark Shadows repair. So when you lift your arms up, there's some sort of crotchiness happening. Love says. When is that being fixed?
Kara, do you have a clue on that one?
Oh, sorry, I was
The
getting
nose,
the questions. Yeah.
the nose shadow and the armpit shadowing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's something we're aware of. We are working on improving the overall skin tones. And so part of that will be improving that shadowy problem as well.
ETA on that?
No ETA yet, but it's one of our priorities.
Please make it soon.
We're trying our best.
It's also on the crotch. I don't know if you know that, but it's also in the crotch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the problem is some of the textures had some. I forgot what the word was, but the artist knew what the problem was. But we are actually working, as I said, working on improving the skins itself. So a lot of that will change. And once we kind of overhaul the skins of the avatars, the default avatars, that will change with it.
Okay. Ransom asks, Q, how would you see the development focus in Sansar desktop versus VR? 50-50, 80-20?
I think whenever we're making something, it's intended to be functional for both. We definitely have to consider the fact that the majority of people on the platform are on desktop. So I wouldn't call them the first party citizen, but we definitely have to make sure that the desktop method works, and then also make sure or find a way to make the VR method work. And the challenge can often be that it doesn't, the way you use something isn't the same in both modes, and so we have to create a novel way to solve the problem in VR. And so that can be a challenge sometimes.
And sorry for, it's a little bit of a non-answer, but I don't think that we have a mathematical equation to say we need to spend this amount of resources on one and this on the other. Yes, we recognize that most users are on desktop, but that VR is is something that is really cool and fun and gets a lot of people's attention. If we have an idea for a really good, interesting product, interesting feature that is primarily just for VR users, we'll also evaluate, is it worth spending our time if desktop users can't enjoy it, or is it so cool that we really want to invest time in it, even though it'll primarily be a VR use case. So it's a constant discussion that we have to have. We evaluate for each feature.
Okay. Silas asks, what about working links in product description, as in links to other related products, no outside links?
That should work if the hyperlinks strips out, right, Pina?
Correct. On product description in World, you will be able to link out to your personal stores. They will be moderated, though.
Yeah.
All right, Zero Cheese has some feedback here. I don't go to new places anymore unless a friend takes me. I just don't get the urge to go to the Nexus. And no, I have to be rude and blow people off to run past them just to go find a new place if I have a few free minutes to explore. So I just don't explore like I used to. Just my feedback.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Noted. You don't get any cheese for that one, though.
Oh, poor Zero Cheese.
Can I just add to Silas's, but not on web, that's correct. Web product descriptions will not have live links. Only in client.
Okay. Granddad Got Mojo asks, can we change the word embedded script to the name of the script in the configuration dropdown after updates? When you have written a lot of scripts that are similar, it is hard to remember which script it actually was used in a given configured object.
I don't know if it's possible. We don't have Kelly here. He'd be the best guy to answer that question. I can ping him about it and maybe get an answer before the session ends, but I don't have a good one for you right now.
Would you mind doing that, Isaias?
Yeah, I'm pinging him right now, unless Nick knows.
Thanks, homies. Okay, Nikki asks, hello, Kitty. World has the cutest...
Wait, hold on. I don't know if you can not hear her, Galileo, but Nix was just talking.
Oh, I can't hear Nick, sorry.
Let me make sure you do, because I'm not sure I was entirely aware you were in attendance. Hold on.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Nix. I'm in the back of the room.
Oh, my, oops.
It's okay. So short answer is it's harder than you would think. But yeah, probably would have to reach out to Kelly to figure out what it would take to fix that. I know a little bit of what the underlying problem actually is, that we actually lose that reference. I'm just blanking on, at the moment, what we had proposed as potential solutions, and I don't think that's immediately in the pipeline, but definitely hear you that it is a big pain point.
Wait, didn't he just release the ability to group scripts together so that you could update them as a group without losing references? Pretty sure that was released.
I vaguely feel like we did release something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was to try to help that problem. So if you have a set of scripts that you know are going to get updated frequently, you can add them to this group. And then every time you update it, the group automatically updates every object in the scene that has that script. I can try to dig up the specifics while we're talking.
Okay. Next, Nikki asks, hello, Kitty World has the cutest stampers. When will they be available for individual world use? So maybe Nikki's asking, can we put those on the store?
We can look into that. I'm not sure if you have the right person to answer that question right now.
I think that's
but we'll look into it.
Question,
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I think they would love, if we asked, they would love to be able to give it away or allow you guys to make something similar. We'll ask them.
I've got an answer for that embedded resource script question if we wanted to touch back on that.
Go for it.
So we don't store the name of the script definition, so we actually have to look up the script in your inventory to find the name. And in the cases where you actually have a script in your scene and you've deleted the script from your inventory because you've updated it or uploaded version 2, the V1 no longer exists in your inventory, so we can't actually look up the name of it anymore. So we just give it a generic name, i.e. embedded resource. And the same thing is... Sorry?
Why don't you just have a hidden property or something?
Okay.
Where would that get mapped to if the
I
thing's
mean,
deleted though?
The way I'm getting around it now, because I'm tired of looking, for old scripts, is I just set a property with the name of the script in it. So, what I'm saying, so I basically configure my own field to say, here was the name of the script before.
Are you deleting the first version of your script before you
Yeah.
upload?
Yeah, all
So
the
that's another
time.
way to get around it is to don't delete the original version right away.
Yeah, but I mean, we have, like I say, dozens of scripts. It's hard enough to
Organize your inventory. I hear you there.
So I looked back at our notes. It's a new field on scene script references. You should get 3 new fields to set scripts that can be remembered when you update them.
Okay, cool. General Zod asks, could you all make it possible so the avatar reacts to ground friction? I see that with objects work. It would allow us to slide on surfaces with low friction set per mesh. This would open up so many possibilities. Skating, ice sliding, parkour, etc.
Yeah, that's actually something we're thinking about. How we do it exactly, TBD, but the sort of ability to kind of have these surfing, skating, sliding, climbing. Granted, with huge disclaimer, none of this is promised or planned. So please don't grill me next week for it not existing yet. But there are awesome things that we're looking into potentially being able to do in the future. Just sort of basic avatar, well, no, I say basic, but kind of like avatar fun.
Yeah, remember when crouching happened and we all crouched for like 3 weeks straight? That was great. Basic
Jumping
avatar
too.
fun. Jumping too was fun. All right, Waffle Nerd asks, question, will there be any support for ARM actions for desktop users? For example, if a user needed to have a weapon in a quest or whatever, perhaps somehow, link it via emotes in some way, if that makes it possible.
Yeah, so the first thing, obviously, which is coming out next release, actually, is what I mentioned earlier for specifically more for guns, where it'll point to wherever your cursor or your crosshair is and mouse looks, so that desktop users will actually look like they're aiming at what they're aiming at instead of the floor. Now, your question went a little bit further to things like swords and shields and golf clubs and baseball bats and things like that. You won't necessarily be able to use those things with this new mechanism that I just talked about, but to bridge that gap, we're talking about things like a scene level or animations baked into the scene or baked into the object that play conditionally when you're using that object. That's something we're talking about and we would like to get to. Can't speak to when. There's no date on that yet. But it would theoretically allow you to, pick up the golf club and now you've got golf swing, or you walk onto the dance floor and now you start dancing, things like that.
It'd be really cool, especially for point of no return. I really have been jonesing to use a chainsaw on desktop.
Yep, I hear you.
Luav asks, is World Audio getting split soon so we can lower streamed audio without affecting sound effects?
Soon TM.
Okay, so soon-ish.
Soonish. That sounds good.
Yeah, soonish. Okay. Question: Will there be user-created animations and items that you pick up?
That's what I was just referring to.
Oh, sorry. Okay. When can we walk into portals and not have to click on them?
You already can.
Yeah, you can walk into them now, and the screen pops up.
I think that was changed just in the last few weeks, in case you haven't checked.
Yeah, that might not have been obvious to everyone.
It's still, you don't actually just immediately teleport there. It'll automatically bring up the codex or the detailed view of the world.
I'm wanting change, sort of. I don't want to click on it. It ruins the experience of walking into something to have to click on something afterwards.
Yeah, the only catch right now is you don't really know where you're going. So, and there's a certain, like, I can totally see a user setting where you just say, like, I don't care, just send me there. But on the default level, we didn't want people to be able to just drop portals and send people to places without them confirming.
Yeah, or accidentally walk
into
too
a
close
portal.
To the portal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so my idea is instead you click on it, accept it, and then you walk into it.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
So you feel like you're actually walking into it still.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. We haven't really thought about it from that perspective.
Out the box thinking, you see.
Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Out of the box into the portal.
Out of the portal thinking.
Oh. Question from General Zod. Can we set a volume box on which we can set the anti-gravity so we can make the avatar detach from the ground and go up without jumping? This could be used for elevators, anti-gravity tunnels, etc.
I think you can now. Yeah, you can, within a trigger volume, set per user gravity. I don't know if it can go negative per se. That's a good question.
To shoot you up to a different level of the building or something.
I don't know if it'll automatically shoot you up. I think you have to jump, but then, you know, while you're in that trigger volume, you'll be affected by whatever settings it's applying to you.
Yeah, I think the idea is making jump pads.
Yeah, I hear you. Where you just like touch it and it just launches you instead of you having to press spacebar.
That'd be cool. Good idea.
Sonic Springs.
The feedback. Sonic Springs. Okay, I think we've hit the end of our questions. Oh, no, here's a new one. Oh, geez, everybody all at once. Okay, why not? I think it's great in the Nexus, the windows pop up when you get nearby and vanish when you go away again. But question, why not use that behavior on every teleport?
On every teleport? What do you mean?
Majeka, if you want to use voice, go ahead to clarify.
When the teleports are surrounding the Nexus field, they have different behaviors. They could be the same all the way around.
I think they're referring to the progress bar display, where if you stay on the teleport pad for long enough, then it will teleport you.
Well, there's the teleport pads, which like send you up and down, and then there's the portals. Which one are you referring to? Okay, and so you're saying different portals in the Nexus behave differently? All right, well that's just
Pop up and vanish automatically.
all right. Well, that's just oversight on my part. My bad. I'll fix that.
Okay, next question. Disney Hunters asks, has there been any conversation about some sort of Sansar water similar to SL water?
As like a changes behavior of avatars, or
changes like appearance, behavior, like because right now we just have water as a plane. It's a little, it's not super immersive water. You know what I mean?
Not submersive either.
Not submersive. Yeah.
Tiss.
Yeah, so it's a question of what do we want to do? Do we want to spend time making a water-specific thing that everyone has now standardized Sansar water, or do we want to give you guys the ability to associate like a set of animations with any object, and then you can go make your pool with your swimming animations? Or do we want to do both? And that's kind of what we had to ask ourselves, and we went with more the give the creators the tools in the future to associate animations with whatever they want.
Yeah, that works. I was just curious if it had come up at all.
Yeah, we talked about water and things like that, and that's kind of where it landed.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay. Next, Silas asks, or maybe has a suggestion here. What about like in The Other Place? When you enter an experience, you get prompted to you get prompted. Do you allow the experience to move you, teleport to other worlds, so you accept beforehand? Then the portal is able to teleport you simply by walking into it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm just reading through and understanding.
Yeah, me too.
Basically, you're just giving permission to the experience to not have to, in the future, ask your permission to send you somewhere else.
Yeah, it sounds like they're offering better suggestions for UX for walking into portals. So you don't have to click every time. You just give like one permission per scene. Is that what it? That's what it seems like. To reduce the amount of clicking.
I think Alice was mentioning that, yeah, we may allow that to be a user setting at some point of if you just walk into a portal, you'll go straight there if that's how you prefer.
There's a couple things we'd want to get in place before that's an opportunity, like being able to put maybe an image of the world inside the portal so you can actually see where you want to go, or giving you the opportunity to cancel that load right back to where you were in case it definitely wasn't where you wanted to go, things like that.
Gotcha. Okay. Again, we've hit the end of our questions, so go ahead if you have any. If you want to follow up on something, now's the time. By the way, I know that I've heard more concerns and feature suggestions and suggestions for things getting better in Discord. This is the time to have that heard by the product team. So, go ahead and bring those up here.
What did you ask us to do? I missed that.
No, I'm saying that in hanging out in Discord, right? I hear users have much, have a lot more suggestions and feedback, and now's your time to say it because we're all here to hear it. So if you've said something in the past week that hasn't been addressed yet, bring it up here. That's what we're here for. I'm talking to the users, by the way, not to us.
Lol.
Lol.
Can we ask the users questions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
So we got asked a question, what do we think makes Sansar unique and stand out above other VR platforms? I'd be interested to hear what the community thinks about that question.
Oh, chat just failed out. Oh, boy. Did the chat server crash for everybody?
I think it's fine.
Oh yeah, I just now see social services disconnected.
Okay. So that's a bad time for that to happen, as we ask for feedback.
And additional questions.
Fantastic. So there is the Can we reset the scene? What's going to be the least painful version of whatever pain we have to go through?
Everybody relog.
All right, everybody. You need to relog, so just pop open the events menu and come back into the product meetup. Sorry about the inconvenience, but we'll see you back here in 2 seconds. Okay, we're back. Whoever needs to be Megad, I'm Megad now. Nix is Megad. Let's get Alex. Zayas, do you have spaces in your name? Goodness gracious.
No.
What the heck?
I could just make it myself.
I don't know why I can't do it to you. Okay. Who else do we have up here? Stanley? Okay. All right. All right, we're back in action here. How many people do we lose? This is an interesting little social experiment. Okay, so Nick's asked the question, what makes Sansar unique to you all? So, so far the answers have been, Sansar is unique because it's pretty, Silas says. Silas also said, oh no, it's something else. Still looking for the answers. Disney says it's the prettiest. So we think that so far the general consensus seems to be Sansar looks the best. That's what makes it unique. Okay.
Render engine's the best.
Future Extreme says pretty, user-friendly, good community. Yeah, by the way, even though I know that every community has ups and downs, I play a lot of video games myself, and I'm a part of a lot of video game communities, and I know I'm supposed to say this because it's my job, but obviously I think our community really is the best. There's a lot of help, some spirited debate sometime, and I think that it all comes from a place of, at least caring about the platform. So I appreciate that as well. My job could be a lot harder. So thanks everybody. what another question I have, this is the question I asked earlier, and I hope everybody's been thinking of it. When we ask you all to, we all know that Sansar is a user generated, like the things that you guys make is what makes this platform really great. All the user created worlds, the avatars, the stuff that you make, those are the things that, make the platform what it is, right? That's something that we've told you before. Something we all agree on. When we ask you to do things, or we put challenges out, or we have contests or something, sometimes I've noticed that it's very hard to actually get some responses to those. And I know that's not because you all don't want to create. I know everybody likes creating. So the problem seems to be with what we're able to give you in return. So the big question is, and I hope you've been thinking about this, is what would you like to see? And the answers can be anything. I mean, some of them are obviously not. If you want a brand new Jaguar or something every time you create a world, that's obviously not going to happen. But if
Aw.
yeah, I know, right? Are Jaguars even
What
cool
about
anymore?
house?
I don't even know. Do you want a house in world?
No, in world, no. A real house
In a real world.
Yeah.
Okay, so no. Unless you make something, unless you make something amazing, I guess.
Well,
I guess
you asked.
it's true, I did. So you can answer that way, or if so other things I'm thinking are like, would Sansar dollars be interesting to folks? Would real dollars be interesting to folks? Would some sort of promotion be interesting? Would a video where we feature your thing be interesting? Would being in the collections be interesting? Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. There's also a lot of other things we've been thinking about. Would you want special merch? Would you want a point system where if you created something, you got X points, and then the more points you get, you would get special items from us, that kind of thing, or some sort of recognition. Anything like that is totally on the table. So what would motivate you to create something for a contest or a challenge? I've been talking a lot. That's the question, though. So Ransom says, throw out some Sansar merch in real life. So send you a T-shirt. We could throw you some hats. Maybe a Sansar branded Oculus Rift would be cool. Medhu has access to the whole grid. Touche, Medhu, touche. Well, actually, that's not a bad idea. So, like, the idea that we have these level systems and you can unlock things in other games. This is just me rambling now. Unlock certain prestige in other games or whatever by going through a leveling system. That could be a way to access the whole grid. Like, once you hit level 10, then you somehow tap into the entire grid and you have an atlas available to you. That'd be interesting.
That was actually the intent.
Oh, yikes. Medhu, well done. Medhu, well done. Zero Tree says he'd love a shirt in real life. Nikki says one of the best things about Sansar is that we can build as big as we want and we get so many worlds. 20, that's right. The 20 is right? Right. Okay. Okay, so what else would motivate you? Or maybe I can just bring up things and you can say yes or no. Is Sansar dollars something that is interesting to folks as a prize? Yes.
It is, but I think there's something else, is that people are working on their own projects and suddenly a competition comes up. It's really difficult to find time to do that sort of thing. I don't know. I think that might be part of the problem.
So sometimes when something comes up, you have to quit your thing in order to take part in something?
Well, yeah, and it's such a short time space to get the competition entry out.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's not very, it doesn't feel very practical at the time to get involved with it. Only one person can win, and you feel, do I really want to spend my time doing it?
Okay, so I'm hearing a couple things. One, the time frames are short. Sometimes we can't handle that, but I think if what we can do, and this is on me, I can start scheduling competitions throughout the year and maybe put out a contest calendar. Although there will be some that pop up just because sometimes the contests are for corporate partnerships or even like streamers that come, other things that come up. But what I can do is make up a contest list, and we'll have like one a month. And I'll sort of determine what the themes are so you guys can start creating whenever you want. Also, I hear that this idea of having one winner seems to be a negative. So maybe there's something that everybody that participates to a certain level gets. Like you get points for participating in a contest, and those points can lead to something. This obviously have to be fleshed out, but I'm hearing that having one winner is demotivational, especially if you're going up against somebody who's like a professional 3D modeler and you sort of just learned Blender or something. Okay, what else was in your comment? So time, some sort of prize that everybody can have access to, and is that what I'm hearing, Love?
Well, it's not. No, it's just that you know someone's going to win, and you're going to put all that time in. You have to decide whether you want to put that time in for the chance that you might win.
Mm-hmm.
Would having a tiered reward system maybe help?
It's a really difficult decision to make.
Sure.
Would having a tiered reward system help? So you have like first, second, third, maybe even further down, so it's not just one guy gets it all?
Yeah, I mean, that's good and all, but I think the reason people don't enter is because they've got their own projects and they're not really wanting to tie themselves into a competition, maybe.
Sure.
So maybe we stop. I think actually this is something that I've been thinking about. This is why we've been calling them challenges recently. I think we're probably going to do away with excuse me, guys, competitions, but having challenges where everybody sort of gets some sort of benefit from it. So like the collection is my first. The Halloween collection that I put up is like my first kind of go at seeing whether or not people would participate, and I got a lot of entries, which I'm putting up today, putting those in today. So keep an eye out for that. But I think that's something that benefits everybody, and is not a competition. If you made something for Halloween, it's going into collection, right? And you gave it and you sent it to me. So that's something where anybody can participate and everybody gets the same benefit. So that is something I can do more of. But I definitely think that there will be competitions for people that want to participate, but we can also do like parallel running challenges and competitions. So if you don't want to do a competition, but you still want to make something because the theme is interesting to you, you'll still have the opportunity. So that way everybody gets a little bit of everything.
Just another idea is, I think the financial reward for putting the work in and then you're using that product, there's a problem at the moment, people feeling about the 62% being too much and everything. How about, I think we all want it lowered, but if the person won and they are still selling that product, then tax-free would be pretty beneficial to them on that, or rejections. It's the putting in the time and not getting much reward for that time. I think that's the difficulty. We're making the stuff for you, and that's that.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I can do about that. What I can do about that specifically. I don't, from what I understand.
It's a disincentive to enter the competition, if you see what I mean.
Sure. So what I'm trying to do is figure out how we can overcome that. So maybe we can think about that a little bit more. It's definitely a challenge. It's a challenge for me as a community manager and for the company to kind of figure that out, and we'll think on that a little bit more. But I do appreciate the feedback. We're at 12. We're at time right now, so that is that. I think if anybody on the team is willing to stay to answer more questions, go ahead. I'll probably stay here for a few more minutes. Continue to talk about these contests and whatnot.
I had a feature I wanted to tease.
Do it.
I'm formulating the words.
Okay.
We got something pretty cool cooking. It's going to come out, I think, in the next version. Sorry, not 37, 38. So 2 versions from now.
So like the December release?
Yeah, ish. And we're calling it Spawn from Inventory. So it'll start where in any scene, the creator will be able to define that either nothing will be able to be spawned, things from a library that we have curated will be able to be spawned, or things from a user's inventory will be able to be spawned, or both Sansar and user inventory. And so what this means is, we're going to have a library of cool things like jump pads and baseball bats and laser pointers and flashlights and dice and all sorts of fun gameplay things that you will literally be able to spawn from your inventory at runtime, like I would be if it existed right now, just be able to spawn like a bunch of dice in front of me, or like a bunch of beach balls that we could throw around, and we could all play with those if this scene allowed it. And then, additionally, you will be able to buy assets off the store that meet certain conditions and be able to spawn those from your inventory at runtime in scenes that allow it. So you could literally go to the store, find, I don't know, a bigger beach ball if you wanted, and it would immediately populate into your spawn from inventory list, and you just click a button, and then boom, it appears in front of you, and you can start playing with it. So that's kind of the V1 of it. And then some things we want to do down the line for that are even allow like a creator to define a specific set of items that they want users to be able to spawn in that world. So if you've got your zombie experience and you want people to be able to spawn chainsaws, then you would be able to define that. That's further out, but that's kind of where we want to take it.
Why is that further out?
Just because it's just more complicated to set up.
That's the obvious thing you would want to allow first.
No, the obvious thing we want to allow first is our own
experience. Why would I automatically think I would allow someone else to bring it in? I would be the first one to say, hey, these are all the things you can play with. This is my experience.
I hear you. I hear you. The first thing we wanted to do was curate our own list of things that we were comfortable with, but then also kind of open Pandora's box for users to just have fun. Mind you, the immediate next step is the creator portion for you to be able to define that library of assets in your scene. So we're not losing sight of that.
You understand that in any game that is made, that will not be an option that any creator will turn on.
Right.
That's not the intent.
People to bring in whatever.
The intent isn't that you turn on people can spawn whatever in your specific game at this point. That's not really the intent. The intent is for us, like in the Nexus, we can turn on spawn Sansar library items. And if you want to create like a Coliseum of insanity, you can just turn everything on. Or you can specify just the Linden items. And then in the not too distant future, I hear you though. I already hear you. And it's already planned, is what I'm saying.
Big plus. I don't understand why that's the last thing you would think about.
It's not the last thing.
Honestly, it's not the last thing we thought about. This is just the first version, and we had to do this first, allowing each creator to specify a library of items. It requires this version to come out first.
Let me put it this way, Medhu. We could do everything, and you could not get it for 4 releases. Or 3 probably, or we could do it piece by piece, and then we give you guys stuff to play with sooner than later, and then we just work on making it better. And I chose to do that.
Well, I like the feature, but as a
you're getting what you want.
I want it.
Yeah, and you're gonna get it. That's what I'm saying.
Other people bringing stuff in, that's just a headache for me.
Oh God, I know. Trust me. We've looked at all sorts of crazy assets that people could bring in and all the craziness that it might cause. But honestly, it's more fun than it is a problem at this point. So we're gonna open Pandora's box to a certain extent, and then give you guys the tools to rein that in.
Okay.
Anyway, we're over time.
Cool. We are over time. Anybody have any other questions? You can ask me. If you have feedback on contest and or challenges, I'm going to be here for a second. Of course, you can always talk to me in Discord. I'm there. Happy to stick around. Nix is.
Everybody come Sunday to my Halloween party.
Ooh, go to Zero's Halloween party. Oh, by the way, this is something I also want to say. If you're hosting an event, one of the things that we've gotten complaints about, I believe Olympus brought this up, and I agreed with Olympus on this. If you have an event, just let me know. Sometimes I'm busy and I don't see this, but I will feature your event in the events calendar whenever I see it happen. So if you want that to happen, all you have to do is ping me and I'll do it. So there's nothing that is going to stop me. There's nothing stopping me from doing that because I'm the one who's like in total control of that. So a lot of times we feature corporate events or like partner events, and we feature our own events. If you want your event featured, just let me know.
I just had a thought on that. Could we not have a billboard wall or something in the Nexus that just keeps showing events that are coming up? It sort of rotates and goes through them.
Oh, that's really interesting, yeah.
Boards all over the place showing events. The Nexus could be quite a good source of information if you put information out there on boards and walls.
Hub.
Yeah, so like when you play like MMORPGs or even normal RPGs or something, there's like a community bulletin board. Sometimes you can pick up quests and stuff there. I think that'd be really interesting to see in the Prime Portal and around the Nexus.
But even from the point of real life, coming into Nexus, just have advertising billboards all around the place that show all kinds of things, you know, competitions, entries, those sort of things could all be displayed in an advertising sort of way.
I think some people are afraid of it looking too commercial, but I think if done right, it could look pretty cool, actually.
Be very cyberpunk.
And give the information that can be very useful.
For sure. Well, we are creating a bunch of signs right now to help the users figure out what's up, which I think you'll start seeing. Can you hear me? Can you hear me scratching my beard?
No.
Oh, I thought that was.
I didn't even know you had a beard.
I have a little.
That's
There
me.
you go.
I have a really nice goatee, so.
I apologize to leave you, Galileo, but I have to go now myself. So.
That's what my dad said to me.
Thanks,
when he left.
everyone. Oh my gosh. Sorry, didn't mean to bring up that trauma.
That's all right.
See ya.
Later.
Sorry to leave you, but yikes. Yoinks. Blah 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 blah. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we can do that. I can at least bring that up. I hope. Maybe we can share that information. I don't actually know who actually develops art. I think it's probably Alex, actually. Yeah, anyways, a billboard system, something like that would be really cool. How much time, by the way, you're saying that you don't have enough time to do a contest, some of you who participate, or a challenge. How much time do you need, or would you want?
Well, with my skills right now, I'd need months. But
okay. Yeah, so maybe a year-long calendar would actually be beneficial.
Yeah, then you could plan for it, I guess.
All right, that sounds good to me. 2 months in some cases, okay.
Big prices would definitely incentivize. Like
What are big
Oculus Rifts and things like that.
Okay, so big prizes. All right. So we want
think you
Oculus Rifts. Money would be good, I think. We have to be really careful with that stuff because there's a legal aspect to giving away things that have real-world value. So some of those things are harder to do, but I don't mind making that happen.
I like t-shirts.
Okay, t-shirts
The money
are cool.
we're gifted have real world value though, because can't we not cash that out?
Yeah. So so we.
You could do gift cards for like.
Yeah, I could do gift cards.
Those Visa gift cards.
70 Camaro, El Diablo. It's on brand. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So if we gave you real money that had real world value, then we would have to have some sort of legal contract.
Yeah.
But if we gave you Sansar dollars that cannot be cashed out, that's how we can avoid that. So it depends on how much you enjoy Sansar dollars, I guess. Some people are Sansar rich, and Sansar dollars don't mean much to anybody, to those people.
But wouldn't there be some kind of maybe loophole with gift cards versus actual cash?
I don't know.
I know some businesses like give out gift cards over the cash.
Well, I mean, it really depends on what the contest is asking users to make, because there's a huge difference between an object that just needs a model and a texture and something with animation or an experience, An experience, I mean, to be able to do something entertaining, that's thousands of dollars. I mean, that's a big difference between an object.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So that's a good point. So like if we're asking you to design a custom avatar, that's one thing. Then an experience is another thing. Sure, that makes sense.
What rights are retained afterwards? I mean, is the winner held pretty much handed over to you to use how you want, or that's
I think that
big question.
Anything that you make in Sansar, technically Sansar has rights to it. I think that's right. I wish I had somebody else here who knew the terms of service better, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
That's how the
Sorry.
That's how the Second Life terms of service is written. I haven't actually read Sansar's.
Well, the terms of service these days are usually that you own the rights. The person who created usually owns the rights. You have the rights to promote or use our material to promote.
That's what it is. No, that's accurate. So yeah, if you make something, we can use it in like promotional materials, which we already do, by the way. Like whenever I post one of your experiences on Twitter or something, that's us using your material to promote Sansar. It's also promoting your experience. I mean, that's just one of those things. I think that's true.
If you read the contract, though, the lab has pretty much unlimited rights to our items.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yes, that's right.
Wow. Then there's not much incentive at all, is it?
Well, that's true for every platform. So you're not going to find anything different anywhere else unless you're making something on your own.
Also, I think depending on who the competition's for, like if it's a big corporate client, I kind of feel like, yeah, it's fun, but coming to us is a little bit of a, oh, look, a free or cheap pool of people who will make stuff for us.
Uh-huh.
So that's maybe just me, I don't know. But
No, I've heard that before. I get that.
yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, the people that come, you know, they can't just be like, hey, you guys make me something, and if I like it, maybe I'll pay you. No, that's not how.
Yeah, I know we talked about that, and I passed that information on. I really hate that happened to you. And if I was in charge of that relationship, it would be over. But that's me, and I'm not, unfortunately. But I did pass that information on. I think if that ever happens to any of you, you should come to me before you make anything. I will make sure that doesn't happen.
Let me just say that it's a super common thing when you talk between Second Life and here. I mean, that's the regular, you know, that's the norm.
Well, I'm not. I don't just. So, I want to protect you guys. That is literally my job to do. And it is also my job to protect the lab, and so that we're all intrinsically tied into each other, right? So if somebody is doing that to you, you know, let me know, because I will make sure that we don't work with them again. You know, that's like what I'm saying. Even if it is normal, just because it's normal it just means that nobody's tried to fix it yet. And so I'm not like I am super high on the totem pole here, but I can at least do something about that.
Well, in some ways, it's somewhat innocent too, in that you know, people do things, and because of their status or whatever, they might get something at a cheaper price or get more creators to do stuff for them for free. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but this stuff is very common. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I personally have had. I mean, this avatar was made for me for free because somebody likes me, right? You know, so because they wanted to do it out of the kindness of their heart. Thanks Olympus for making this glowy avatar for me, and
that's what I mean. That's what I mean about it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that, you know.
Yep, I get it. Yeah, I think you know, if I think it's good to keep in mind, and maybe I can ask this when these things happen. But if we're asking you to somebody to make an experience, I think that there is something that you're all aware of, and this is not news for me, but I just let you know I'm aware of it too. If you're asked to make an experience, and there's a contest involved or something, or a competition, you must know that if somebody came to you and asked you to make an experience to their specifications, that you'd be able to make more money off of that. You know, that's so when we ask you to do these things, it's one, you know, you don't have to do it. You don't have to enter the contest. So I'm trying to find ways that you would. But two, part of it is, you know, hopefully you like creating. Some people, I know there's different types of creators. Some people are, you know, there's one end of the spectrum that are purely business people, and there's some people that will create just because they like doing it. And so sometimes we're not going to be able to appease all ends of the spectrum, which I think is unfortunate, but it's just a fact of life. So I'm trying to find a good balance here. Because one of the things I don't want to do, and I think I did this when I first joined, and I learned very quickly that you can't just ask people things, is insult anybody by asking them to do something and then being like, here's 5 Sansar dollars. So,
well, you know, it's also a matter of scale too.
Yeah.
You know, when you have so few creators or whatever, if you do have a contest, how many people do you think are going to be interested with a small group? You know, so if there's not some kind of incentive for that, you're gonna get less.
Yeah, So I used to make clothing for Animal Crossing way back in the day, which was much easier than making clothing for Sansar. Anyway, I know that when they would have contests, there were people who literally spent all day, every day doing it, because that's some luxury they had afforded to them through whatever like station in life they were in. But I had to go to school and I had a job, and so I could only like spend an hour a day or so. And so I didn't feel like it was fair for me to be in competition with people. One that make video games for a living or have tons of time to do stuff. So I'm also trying to solve for that disparity, because, you know, some folks come in here and create for an hour a day, and that's the most time they can dedicate to it. And it sucks to have to put somebody like me, who just made a banana for the first time and was extremely proud of it, to enter the same contest with like, you know, Cerberus or you and Bagnaria, or, you know, anybody who's great at creating. So I'm trying to figure out, this is again the challenge that I'm trying to solve, is how I can have how we can do challenges that everybody benefits from regardless of skill level.
Yeah, there's a little bit of, you know, when it comes to making 3D stuff, okay, I mean, there's a lot of insecurities with creators and whatever. Everything, here's what I'll say. Everything is a specialty. Everything. If you really get into, doesn't matter, any kind of model that you're creating, if you really get into flowers or whatever, and you become a specialist at flowers, you're going to kick my butt that doesn't have an interest in flowers. Okay? So this is the world of 3D. So don't think that you can't compete against other creators, because it's all about interest, really.
Yeah, and so that's why I've also been thinking about thematically opening up. So like, you know, one of the things that we've done before has been like, make a sci-fi avatar. So people who are not good at sci-fi or don't like sci-fi or can't create avatars, they're alienated from that contest. So instead of being like sci-fi avatar, what you can do is make something that would fit in a cyberpunk world, or, you know, open it up. Like the Halloween thing, you can make whatever you want. If you made like the pumpkin on the table in this experience, could be in the Halloween collection. The giant orange Dracula that Silas, I don't know what that is actually, Silas. I think it's a vampire monster. That could be in the contest. The Halloween sign behind us on the wall could be in a contest. So I'm trying to make sure that everybody can contribute regardless of their specialty or skill. It's a very difficult thing. It's a very difficult thing to do, though. You know, it's trying to encourage everybody is hard. Trying is not hard, but actually encouraging everybody is the hard thing, I guess.
How are you judging them also? Do you have like a top expert that would come in and judge them, or is it judged more by?
Yeah, so it's a good question. It depends. So we have not actually had a contest in a long time, not one that needs to be judged. But what we do is we have we assemble some sort of panel internally. So I don't know. It might, like, for the last time we tried to do an avatar contest, it was going to be Kara, who's the avatar product manager, and then Ebe would have looked at it and picked his favorite one, and then I don't know. We had somebody else. I don't remember who it was at the time, but they're gone now. Anyway, and then, you know, we even tried to create a rubric like creativity, you know, technical challenge, theme, right? You know, there was a different rubric, so we could try to score it as objectively as possible, even though judging creative things is a subjective sort of thing. So that is how we tried it the one time. That's the only real contest I've done here. For other contests where we have, like we had this bacon donut, a streamer come in, and the contest was create an avatar for him and he'll pick his favorite one. That's just him choosing his favorite. And so if he created something for it and it wasn't his favorite thing, you know, that's how that contest ran. So he ended up picking a donut. He ended up picking a fire goat avatar that was literally a bacon donut. And I thought that was a little on the nose, but hey, that's his prerogative. So that's how that contest can run. So
yeah.
I
have one piece of a small idea. Like one way to make sure it's fair is like to say, okay, like if this is like, let's say in competition for a whole experience, which is very involved, right? Like you just don't do one in a day. Then just block the winner for or any of the winners for the next X amount of years, so that it checks its round, right? Like. Because we have had that in the past, and I think that would make it more fair. I mean, Matthew and I have never won any contest other than like a silly 1,000 Sansar dollar, whatever. So It's I think that's like one of the ways to mitigate it a little bit.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think we've tried that with the featured experiences before, and it's been working pretty well. Although we're trying to figure out a way for featured experiences to be meaningful again. Actually, Matthew gave me some good feedback on that. So, but the rules were, if you remember, when I first started taking charge of the featured experiences, that nobody could be listed two times in a row.
Yeah, and that's a good concept.
Yeah. So I think that's a good idea.
But when it comes to like showing off what's going on, or what might be featured or whatever, again, Bignaria brought up a while ago that part of the problem with the Nexus is you walk in and you have to do things to be able to see things. It's not just right there. And if there was a media board that was live in the Nexus showing you, updating every 10 seconds or whatever, or 30 seconds, what was going on in Sansar. So all you did was look up. Then that makes the Nexus valuable.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Oh, interesting. So like you're saying, right now, in order to see something, you have to go into one of the if you wanted to see the most popular experiences or the newest experiences, you have to go into one of these portals that is sort of situationed around the Prime portal. So what you're saying is, stop making people click on stuff and just show them.
Yeah. If you have advertisements and stuff around that just show what's going on,
if people are
it makes it much more interactive.
They might be sitting there talking for hours, but in 1 second they look up and they see, oh, it's this event and there's 15 people there, and it's just there. They didn't have to click on something or whatever. Then they just see it and they would automatically go, or it would spark it without having to do stuff. Whereas people are just standing around talking anyways.
I think there's a lot of ideas in the film Ready Player One. If you watch that film and take note of the way things are happening in there, there's some quite good ideas for that sort of thing. Like there is a big billboard, a God voice in the sky kind of thing. If you want to announce Sansar's closing down, have your big face in the sky saying Sansar's closing. These sort of things would be really cool and interactive.
I always wondered why the lab didn't have their own radio station, so that if you didn't have a audio thing that you wanted to play in your experience, you just play the labs, and it could be playing artists that are on the platform. It could be playing whatever kind of music you like, and then have announcements every half
welcome
hour.
to Sansar, everybody. Today
it could just be a recording too.
And then they could even you could even have myself could pay something to have an ad put into that, and then it would be more revenue for Sansar as well.
At this point, no.
Well, one thing I can promise you is if you put 10 portals in front of people that are all just regular portals, people will not click a single one of them, other than very few, and it's because they don't know why they would do it.
Right.
This is what I mean about clicking them. You just want to walk into them, but you can click them to unlock them and then walk straight into them.
You would not walk into them either. The lab is proving that point by when there is an important event, like the Blaster Jacks, for example, that had a big board above the portal to announce, oh, this is Blaster Jacks, so that people would actually be able to find Blaster Jacks. So it has to be a bit more in the eye. It has to be more enticing. It has to give you a reason to feel attracted to it, or being able to identify, yeah, I really want to see that.
Blaster Jack was right in the center, right there.
Yeah, but the thing that's the most flashiest in the Nexus is the big center, and hardly anyone is migrating towards it, right? Because they just don't know why they would.
It's actually quite awkward in VR. Your codex appears in that globe, in your face.
Yeah, it's really...
And it would be more interactive if you could share the experience with whoever you're in, looking through the codex. And I think it would be better if it wasn't actually a codex that came up in your... It was actually built into the Nexus, that when you clicked on it, then the big wall shows all these experiences, and you just click on one. If because it needs to be visual.
It needs to be visual. It needs to be 3D, more than visual. It needs to be like integrated into your actual experience, like especially when you're in VR.
So like, not only does it need to be visual, but it also has to be interactive, right? So if I just saw a huge board in the sky with a, Medhu updated X, world his animal sanctuary, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. What the hell is that? So maybe something that should you be able to click on it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, my idea with that is like you want it 3-dimensional, right? But you cannot show people 1,500 experiences of wherever we're at. Like, so like you have to be selective. But why not let people select by the distance that they're to whatever might interest them? So, Disney's new portal is a really good example because like you have like really big headlines about your head and then maybe because you're interested in one of the headlines or like something that's actually really easy to catch and be interested in, you migrate towards it. But as soon as you do, then maybe it unfolds and it becomes more choices. And then you can look around again and like migrate towards what attracts you the most. But it has to kind of like be selective and certainly be 3-dimensional and like not overwhelm you.
It's so crazy. I'm imagining it. It's pretty crazy.
Well, I sort of am having trouble imagining it. So what you're saying is there's a portal. Okay, so there's a couple things going on. Yeah, go ahead.
I try to explain it better. So like let's say you. And this is not the Nexus, just like an example for the concept. So let's say you have 3 choices, like exploring, shopping, and like parties. So you're in a triangular room that has 4 sides. And then you're in the smack down middle, similar to how it is now, and you look around. And then you discover, okay, those are dancing people, or it has a big flashy dancing and huge letters above it, whatever it may be. I mean, I'm not hung up about details at all with this. But as soon as you start to make a decision and you migrate towards dancing, then suddenly it unfolds and becomes more about dancing, and there's more choices popping up for dancing. Kind of like walking in a tree that has like the whole hierarchy of 1,500 experiences. However, you only see 10 at a time.
It's like a shopping mall, right? Like,
I don't think.
like
we have no power in VR. We can make it better.
Are you thinking of like eHarmony, like matching someone up with what they're interested in?
Or do they get to curate their own interest list, like
right,
Twitter? Or
exactly. Yeah.
I think it's more like a tree
it's their
that
choice,
grows
right? Yeah, it's
as you walk toward your interest.
Exactly.
So if you're walking towards dancing, all of a sudden, as you get closer and closer, there are more and more experiences that have dancing things going on. Of course, the ones that are filled right now, and then the popular ones after that. Totally. And then as you get closer and closer, you get more and more.
Yeah.
Maybe you go disco dancing and you start walking towards the disco side of it all. And now you're seeing all disco places,
Could I say something? Because I'm actually...
Of course.
I'm actually new. From my first experience, I'm a user experience. When I first came in, I actually saw some of the portals and stuff. I love the quest stuff that came up in the very beginning that showed me how to run Sansar, what things you can do and stuff like that. You guys have brought a really good point because you have the 3 portals that have the dedicated partners, I'm guessing. Am I correct? Monstercats,
Sanrio,
Hello Kitty, Sanrio and all the stuff. But at the same time, that's all I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any creative stuff. I mean, the only reason why I knew to click on things, and I'm a person that I do play video games. I'm a podcaster, and when I play video games, I search for everything. A lot of people that watch my streams hate me because of it. It's because I love to click on every single thing. So what I would suggest, and she's got a point, is some sort of like 3D floating, something floating in 3D around the center mass, I guess, in the Nexus.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Either something that rotates and shows different events or different creation or contests that are going on, things like that, or something to where you can actually in the Nexus do it to where you have different road maps. So like if you take one road, like she was saying, the dancing, if you go towards this road here, it takes you to a dancing location and then shows you all the things for dancing. If somebody wants the horror, they go down this road and they see all the horror experiences, and it basically branches out. It's just something that, you know, from my
I think those
experience
are cool
being there.
ideas. I actually, there's a music platform that sort of does this. And I'm trying to figure out how, like Spotify does this, right? If you are like into one thing, then all of a sudden they know that like, okay, well you listen to, heavy metal a lot, so here are some other heavy metal things, right? Like suggested artist or something like that.
Yeah, basically like some sort of clickbait is basically what it's necessarily called.
You visited Tina's Slew House. Here are 4 other club experiences.
Here's another idea that I'm just thinking of is like Minority Report. I want to feel like my interactive thing is more like Minority Report, where you can move things around. Say you found an experience in the Nexus you like, you could grab it and push it into your thing. I don't know if that's available yet, but this card that we have is quite in your face. It hides everybody else. It's not transparent. So when you're looking through it, you're quite in your own world, not paying attention to anybody else. I just feel it needs more openness and being able to move things around, or and
that
search
sort of
and
thing is,
categorize.
I do think so. Yeah, I think that the ability to kind of move stuff around is important. I think that's important for creators as well. We've talked about that. I do think some of that's a real technical challenge. I'm not sure I can commit to anything like that here. But I do think, one of the things that I'm hearing is sort of the foundational aspect of all of this to even start with these tree ideas, or sort of this growing sorting thing is categories. And so I'm surprised I didn't hear anybody bring that up today, actually.
Yeah.
But
we've got
we need to be able to
Halloween, and you want
categorize
to...
things,
Well, sorry, I'm kind of one of those creative persons that think of things. But like I said, you have like one or two. In the Nexus, you only have like 3 portals there, or 4. Yeah. And that doesn't really give much of an option or much, how you say it, creative aspect of actually seeing what is in those zones, or what you could say. I mean, because you got the most popular portal, but it's just a portal. I mean, it's Stargate 1.
Yeah.
And it's like you click on it and you're like trying to guess where you want to go. But if you actually have different lands, kind of like if any of you seen what's the Disney animated
Fantasia?
Inside Out.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the different like family, joy, things like that, and how they had the different lands, and when they got destroyed and stuff, something kind of like that. Get lands to where it has different portals, so you have those options to where, oh hey, check this out, there's a horror, go down this road, things like that, and then you see the portals. All the different portals and stuff.
Essentially, I think what we're saying is there's a whole load of way of doing it. You don't need to just focus on this sci-fi Nexus world. You can make it far more of a terminal with lots of ideas, lots of things. Just put it in our faces and advertise the hell out of it. What's going on in Sansar.
That's just like what Player One does. Is basically it gives you these different worlds within the multiple worlds that is created. So
but we have that though, right? You just have to advertise it. And anyone raise their arm if they ever clicked on clickbait?
Oh, I would raise my arm. Okay.
Right? Like, wouldn't everyone? Because I mean, you click on this stuff because it has gotten so darn good at like what you like. Like me, it'd be like kittens, which seems to be the #1 thing that people love, and I happen to be one of those. But like it's just like crazy, like how how you then feel, okay, like not another one of those next with like all advertising, and you have to click 40 times to actually learn nothing new. However, you still click it every not maybe not every day, but like every other day or whatever. Like they really have it down to make you click it.
Or how about if they actually had something to where in the beginning of experience you have the option to choose, like have a list of, you know how, again, like you said, Spotify, it gives you a list of artists and you say, okay, I like this type of artist, this type of music, blah blah blah, and then it just generates what you like into the Nexus and show you those things that are there and give you like a pathway into what you're interested in.
I think that would be very technically complicated, but I do think it's a good idea. I think we would have to. I mean, I don't design Sansar, so frankly, whenever I say that something's technically complicated, maybe I'm wrong, but I do think that sounds hard. But I think that's something we could do in your codex, right? Like that's where that would have to live. I think. I don't know if we'd be able to generate a different version of the Nexus for everybody. But yeah, I like those ideas. Recommendation engines are a thing. Yeah, Nick's design stuff, so Nick's is better. I'm glad you're here, Nick.
Well, I mean, technically, you don't have to redesign the Nexus. The only thing I'm saying, like suggesting, is giving like pathways to different stuff, like the stuff that everyone here wants everyone to see. So if there's a pathway to an event, you can actually go to this pathway, like a little bridge or something that takes you to all the events that are going on, and they can participate in those. You know, the horror pathway, they can go down this bridge and like make it something like that, where you don't have to necessarily redesign the Nexus, you just add on to it.
Make like mini hubs.
Certainly right now, what I find really frustrating is when I click on any of those portals, the popular or whatever, you're still getting your codex come up, and that's not the interactive experience I'm after in an interactive environment.
I was nearly shocked when like the Atlas panel popped up when I went to the Prime portal the first time. I was like, really? Like I have to do extra work to get the thing that I already was able to use, rather than having like a new and more amazing experience.
You have to do more stuff. That's right.
Yeah. Well,
essentially it was the same thing, but just made more complex.
Yeah, there's a lot. So one of the things that's I think we've brought up before, and whatever, I'm not arguing for it against it, but sort of as a reminder, a lot of the changes that we made are for new users, and the old users who are used to something, how different it is, right? Because you got to experience how the old way, and so I think the thing that we need right now from a company standpoint, and we think that this benefits everybody. And by the way, I might be a little bit wrong here. I think I'm saying this the right way, but it is our goal to make sure that new users stick around longer. And
but you got to make it interesting then.
Yeah, so that's
and
what we're trying to do. It's not interesting.
It's really kind of boring.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously we're trying.
When you click on the portal and it takes you out of it, like especially in VR, when you click on a portal and it pops up a window on your screen, it just takes you immediately out of the immersion of being in this huge, amazing world.
Yeah.
As soon as a window pops up on your screen, it's like, oh yeah, I'm in VR.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. I mean, again, I'm not really a technical mind here, but the goal is, and obviously we didn't. What if this had worked? Then we wouldn't be complaining right now. It didn't work so far. It's not working the way we'd like it to, or whatever.
Well, I think
I'll give you another.
If you just look, I mean, what makes Sansar great? It's all these different experiences, and that's kind of the whole issue with the Nexus, because it cuts off the best thing about Sansar.
Yeah, and not just like popular experiences, because you're more likely to find those, but it's just so much more likely that you don't even know about 95% of what the options are. Like you just don't know what you could possibly be discovering.
I've passively taken people to experiences, and as soon as they do that for them, they are so more wowed by the place.
Yeah.
Like taking them to 2077, taking them to Scurry Waters, taking them to, these are your flagship places at the moment, and showing them that it really helps people to understand the incredibleness of Sansar.
So interestingly enough, you bring up the exact, so this is funny that you say that, Love. What you are talking about is the exact behavior we're trying to encourage. People taking
Yes, but people, that's taking real time out of my time.
I mean, you don't have to do it. You do it.
No, but I'm doing it because I'm invested in getting this place more popular, keeping people here.
And as a creator, you just can't afford that time because I mean, like we're already like parking our avatars in dance places while we're working in the background. We're already like occasionally doing it, like bringing people, and I don't bring people just to our places. I ask them, hey, what's your kind of thing? Like if they tell me cyberpunk, I bring them to 2077. If they like witchcraft, I bring them to Naya's places. Like, and that's why I'm sometimes really insulted when people think like, hey, we're just like there to promote our own stuff. We're not making any reasonable money with that, and especially building experiences is not a moneymaker at this point. I mean, like maybe establishing a brand for the future. But it's all coming from this love for Sansar and knowing that this will be so incredible and so magical. So really the goal is to retain more people.
Right.
If I could retain one person knowing I spend an hour in the Nexus every day, I would do that. Because then we would have one more person every day and we would grow really fast.
I convinced the Second Lifer the other day that there is something more to this place than what he believed there was. And he has more incentive to return.
And I can say this, like I said, I'm new here, and when I first got here, Galileo actually showed me a couple of places, and it was an interesting experience. And he knows I've actually bring a few people into Sansar.
That's true.
And there are more coming. I could tell you that right now. And I could say that the experience that he's shown me was freaking amazing. I've told him that, up front, and I want to see more. He's told me that there's a lot of, I mean, how many worlds did you say there was?
Almost
1,700.
1,700, really? We are 17 already?
17.
So, as a user, I'm not a creator. I can tell you that right now. I can't even create a stick figure properly. But as a person that wants to come in and experience this for the social experience, I think it's amazing. And I'm intrigued to see more. I really am. And if I can see more, I can bring a lot more people in here. And I told Galileo that, and I promised him that, and that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So for you guys who create, I give you all the credit because from what I've seen already, it is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
That's the part that's frustrating, right? Because like this argument, like, oh, there's nothing to do here. Like, yeah, a year ago even that probably was still true, but now, like, at least for a day or so, knowing what you like doing, you should be able to entertain someone for a couple hours, and I think we are. If they just find the right stuff that they are interested in, which is why I'm always pounding. Okay, like, it is somewhat important to know what people like and want to discover, because it's 100 times easier to guide them into something that they're interested in rather than showing them something they're not. Like, because you flash something in front of them that they don't know what it is, nothing will happen. If it's something they don't like, they will definitely not choose it. But if you're a little bit selective, like, and I'm not talking about forcing them through an interview process. I'm talking about them naturally navigating and discovering more, just because on the path you learn a little bit more about them, and no one is in it to viciously try to sell them products they don't want or may want, but like don't really need, or like it's just to discover the beauty of all what we have.
You can make billboards that suggest things like, try our store, buy some clothes. You can put these things out there. There's all these encouraging ideas that people might want to try out. And One thing I didn't quite get about the quests, and that they are dead simple quests, apart from anything else, is that Agent Primus talks to you on the first quest, and then is silent the rest of the way through. And then I didn't understand that. If he can be talking in the one part, it's so much more a wow factor if every other quest that you do, Agent Primus is talking interactively with you about it. And also the other one, I forget her name, the Forma, yeah. She also is silent as well, and I was hoping she'd speak. It's so much more interaction. We're in a world where text is just kind of boring.
Yeah, the issue there, to be frank, is bandwidth. I mean, as the person who did the voice for
yeah, I recognize
it. We just don't have enough people to do that. As much as
people are, but you're not talking about technical bandwidth, right? You're just talking about
like we don't have the manpower.
Yeah.
Or the budget to like hire people outside, that kind of thing. Those are things that are constrained. Guys, I have to leave here in a second because I have a meeting soon.
And you don't want to miss your lunch.
And I do want to go eat lunch before my meeting starts.
But they were very short pieces of text. I mean, you really didn't have time to read every single one.
But text to speech has gotten really good.
Somebody has to write the dialogue. It has to fit in with the story. It has to be copy checked. It has to be recorded.
Okay. I would suggest it's worth investing in though, because wow factor is what you want. You really want people engaged in this with a wow factor.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the person that does every user creation tool. So
every eye candy, every interactive is going to make your people stay longer because they are just wowed by all the extra touches.
So I understand that, but like one of the so look, like obviously I get it. Like I mean I agree totally, but if the person working on that is also the person who's making better tools for people. So if we start focusing on one, do you know what I mean? You can't please everybody.
No, but there's incentive for your board to understand that investing now will pay off in the future because you're keeping those people and getting more traction.
And I agree with the Love Enemy, but it's like one thing I can see as irresistible, and that would bring any VR platform off the ground, is like if we could integrate something like Sumerian, like that Amazon did, where you have artificial intelligence that is driving avatars that can actually talk to you. And if we had that as the agents, and they would be flirtatious, and you could select, okay, like I prefer men or women to be my guide, and then you could actually ask them questions, and the technology is already out there. And I'm not saying it's in the budget of the lab or like the capacities there to do it, but what I'm like more certain of than with any other solution is that would be so incredibly attractive that it would take any platform off the ground.
Yeah, you should write that down. I mean, I'm writing it down, but you know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
If you send it to me in a...
Well, so one thing you should do, it's Sumerian, like Sumerian.
Like Samaria, that country?
Yeah. And it's by Amazon, and like I don't know where the project is standing. It seems to be moving forward slowly, but they have AI basically sales agents. You enter a virtual experience and they talk to you. There's an interface to set it up. So it's potentially some technology that could also be licensed, right? I'm just so confident in my heart that like if you pull that off first, compared to any other platform, that will be completely a complete game changer, because artificial intelligence, like interacting with an AI entity, that will happen first in a world like this. Before we have like robots or like cyborgs, because here we can already do it. And we already have the tools in place that synchronize our lips to speech. We have text to speech, and we have the AI modules that can actually handle dialogue. So you just have to put all the pieces together.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, right. I'm going to leave now because I'm going to go eat lunch.
Okay.
So
enjoy lunch.
Before anybody starts a new comment, Love, feel free to DM me what you're about to say. But I am about to hop off because they're about to turn off the kitchen.
Animated wormholes.
Okay,
bye, Galileo. Have a great lunch. Bye.